It's now time for the Ray Longo Minute.
I want you to punch a hole in his fucking chest. That's what I want.
The Ray Longo Minute. Starring Ray Longo. The John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast.
Hey!
All right, look at this. Wow.
There he is.
I'm hiding.
Longo.
I'm hiding in the bathroom today. How does it sound?
You're in the bathroom?
I'm hiding today from the door.
It sounds okay. Your hair looks fantastic. He combed his hair for the show.
No, let me tell you something. I need a haircut.
Oh, you don't have a bald spot on the back, do you?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Do you? It is amazing, and I'm not naming any names, but there are some people who have a huge bald spot on the back, and it's amazing to me that they would go to a barber and say, yeah, keep a little hair on there so I can comb it over that bald spot. And I say this because I'm a guy who has my own hair issues, right? I've been shaving my head since I was 14, like every few days. So we all have our issues. People think I'm going bald, right? No, I mean, I got a full head of hair. Just look at my twin brother, right? We all have our issues, but I just don't understand how you could, like, these guys just got to shave their fucking head. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about those other guys.
Wow, you're coming out piss and vinegar. Baby,
Kenny brought up your hair, not me. Kenny brought it up.
Oh, man.
Listen,
I'm just trying to hold on to it as long as I can. That's it. Period.
No,
That's
I get
the end
it.
of the story.
Yeah. So,
but I do. But that bald spot's been there for like 15 years. Matt Serra's been pointing it out to me ever since the first day he noticed it. So I know it's there. I don't really see it myself, but.
If I were you, I would turn it around on a height challenge guy like me and say, hey, John, you know why you've never seen that bald spot? Because you're up to my fucking peck.
Hey,
all right, Ray.
Let me jump in on Frankie Edgar, man, because, again, you guys hit on a lot of stuff. Well-deserved. You look, blue-collar guy. I think he did his best work at 55. I really do. At that time, he was buzzing through everybody. He was a little guy. Nobody could figure him out. I think Mark Henry did a great job on him, and that's a behind-the-scenes story I'm going to say is that I would be at fights, and I mean, Mark really put his time in with this kid. I would be at fights like Frankie's not fighting. They got another guy fighting, but Mark would bring his equipment just to work with Frankie in the dressing room. Like any free time, I guess this was at the beginning that Mark had, he was working with him, and he would always ask me, can you take a look at him? Then I think he took him to Freddie Roach. Like he was just so involved. That relationship really is really part of the success because Mark really, you could see, put his heart and soul into that. And I watched him work tirelessly, and that's only when I saw it. You know what I mean? And that was by coincidence. I don't even think he should have been working with him at that point. Like we're in the backstage, we're back getting other guys ready, and he's warming Frankie up like he's fighting, but they were just hanging out waiting for their guy. And if they had any downtime, they were going to use it. And Mark really, I think, did his homework on everything. You could see from the beginning the attachment they had, and it just got bigger and bigger. And, man, nobody deserves it better than Frankie Edgar, just based on the fact that he was undersized. Everybody made him go down. I didn't even think he lost those fights at 55. They were all close. Right. Nobody ever blew that guy out of the water.
Right, the Benson Henderson fight, right?
Yeah, 100%. So blue-collar kid, great for the sport. Great family guy. You can't say enough about him. Nobody, you can't meet Frankie Edgar and say, oh, that guy's a dick. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? So
he's the man.
Great family. Even his dad would always be at the fights, if I remember correctly. And everybody was just, that brought a tear to my eye, man. Frankie Edgar is a gangster, man. And that kid, for what he did, what he had is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, his mom's a great lady as well. And honestly, the only guy he ever ducked was Ken Flo his whole career. So, all right, a lot to get into with you when it comes to UFC 297. There is a chance that the newly minted UFC middleweight champion, Dricus du Plessis, will join us here in about 10 minutes. But how about Dricus du Plessis? What was your overall UFC 297 viewing experience like, though, Ray? It was a long pay-per-view. I felt like it looked on paper like we could get 5 decisions, and that was essentially what we got. So it was a weird night. Some of these nights can just be a little bit weird. The main event was fantastic, but what was your 297 viewing experience like, Raymond? Yeah,
you're kind of hitting on it. I mean, I enjoyed a bunch of the fights. That bantamweight fight was absolutely fantastic between the Russian kid and the kid from Florida. No, that's was that featherweight?
Talking about You're talking about a prelim.
Yeah, it was maybe the third.
Garrett Armfield, Brad Katona. No, you're talking about Ramon Tavares and
That's the one. Yeah, really, what a great fight that was.
Amazing.
Amazing fight. That was an amazing fight, especially for a rematch where, the Russian kid had knocked him out last time. So it was stopped early. There was controversy. But, man, what a great idea for them to put that back together again, because that fight looks like it's always going to produce. But and I'll tell you, another fight where there's no winner or loser. I think both guys did absolutely fantastic. The women's, the main card, I like the Woodson fight. I thought that was good.
Look at Ray just diving into the prelims. I mean, can we get the monster Pulev and Arnold Allen before you fucking rifle through all the prelims?
Wait, hold on a second. Wait, Woodson was after Arnold Allen. What are you talking about?
Sean Woodson was not even the featured prelim, Ray, but I don't know, man.
Was Arnold Allen? What was Arnold Allen? He was the first fight of the night.
On the main card.
Yeah. We're back
I'm just having fun.
Listen, there's a good chance I didn't even watch the fight, so don't do that to me.
A lot of split decision.
A lot of split decision.
I thought, the Canadian men went 0-7 on this night. I do think two of them could have won, maybe.
Oh, my God.
Surrey City and Brad Katona, but I thought Sean Woodson beat Charles Jourdain,
100%. 100%. So that was a little confusing when they announced it, but the Mike Malott fight was mind-boggling. I mean, he had to be a minus 20,000 going into that third round. How does that happen, Ken?
Crazy.
He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Come on, man. We got to see better than that, man. No attempt at escaping. I just that shit I don't get at that level. I go through this in the gym all the time because, guys want to fight. They want to fight. You got to be squared away now, man. It's you're going to get exposed if you have a weakness somewhere, Yeah,
so even managing his energy throughout the fight, especially if that's something that has kind of plagued him in the past, and you're going to get someone like Neil Magny, who knows how to come back, who's going to be conditioned throughout. He's not going to quit. If he was going to quit, he would have quit against Ian Gary when he basically fought with one leg, right? I mean, he's not going to go away. And in that one, I just feel like Mike Malott didn't manage his energy, right? He allowed Neil Magny back into the fight, and he kind of just sat there. His energy was gone in rounds 1 and 2, and he just sat there and took a beating from him. Like
Kenny, all you have to do is survive that round. You won.
Yeah.
There was a minute left, a minute and a half.
No, less. I think there was less than 30 seconds left in the fight, right? Or no? Am I wrong on that? I think
it was towards the end. So I think you're right. But I mean, all he had to do was survive that, and he's winning that fight. That was
15 seconds to go at the 4:45 mark, as you see there. Thank you, Cody.
Right.
Yes. So, I mean, I do think that perhaps I was guilty maybe of overstepping a little bit when it came to some of the hyperbolic stuff I was saying about Mike Malott. I mean, I stop at suggesting that he's overrated, right? But the guy never had a decision win. So experience has got to count for something. I give Neil Magny a whole lot of credit, but
100%.
Dominic Cruz on the broadcast, Kenny and Ray, at one point mentioned Gilbert Durinho Burns and Shavkat Rakhmonov, right? These are the guys that are awaiting Mike Malott. And I just think sometimes we get ahead of ourselves, especially when it comes to certain guys in certain countries, with all due respect to Canada, right? We are dying to have a man take the torch, right? And we went into this fight thinking without a shadow of a doubt, the most talented Canadian mixed martial arts male right now is Mike Malott, and maybe Charles Jourdain and Brad Katona are the other guys who maybe could make a push to the top 15, right? All three of them lost.
And it's why Neil Magny is such a great gatekeeper. I mean that in the most respectful way possible, because, again, you are going to find out your weaknesses and vulnerabilities. Even if you're able to get by him, he's going to expose something potentially. And if you are getting past someone like Neil Magny, you are absolutely legit, because Neil Magny isn't going to bend over for anybody. And I think we got the true story for now in 2024, where Mike Malott's at this stage of his career, and was certainly pretty dominant up into that last point, but it doesn't matter. It's how you do over the whole fight, right? Not how you start, how you finish. And Neil Magny was able to get right back to it and show everybody why he's Neil Magny, why he has so many damn wins in the UFC.
Well, I mean, Kenny, I think it would have been better if he was losing the whole fight. You know what I mean? And but this is, you're ahead. You're winning. You're controlling 10 minutes of the fight. What were the odds going? What were the live odds going into that third round?
He was minus 1,200 at one point.
Minus 1,200.
Wow.
I mean, how do you explain that? And I know guys that had him. He was the last thing. He was the last guy to win a parlay. And I going into the third round, you had to be jumping and screaming like it was.
Yeah, you're not cashing out early. You can be sure. What did you guys make of Mike Malot's reaction after the fact? He was down for a long time. I certainly believe that our good friend, the Massachusetts native, Kevin McDonald, let him take a few more punches than I would like. And I have to say, right, because I'm not here to make friends, I am paid to be critical, right? Kevin McDonald has been on the wrong end of some of the earliest, most premature stoppages I have ever seen. I think the worst one I've actually seen was the first fight between Surrey City and Ramon Taveras on the Contender Series. Way too early there. If memory serves, TJ Dillashaw, Henry Cejudo was also Kevin McDonald. And so I'm seeing Kevin in there, and I'm like, now I think Kevin's going to have a long leash because of some of the recent things that have happened to him in there. And, you know, thank goodness that Neil Magny wasn't sort of, deprived of a win here because the referee wanted to let things go too long. I thought he let things go too long. But Ray, did you see that reaction from Malott after the fact?
Yeah, no, definitely. Maybe, listen, we'd have to hear from him too. Maybe something was wrong. Maybe, the weight cut, or he was everybody in New York is sick. Everybody, like nobody's escaping getting some sort of sickness. They don't even know half the times what it is. So we'd have to hear from him. But the reaction, the whole thing was not a good look. If you're looking for the future, I don't think that was a good look at all. And he's going to have to make some adjustments because I do think he's a super talented kid. I like his personality. He seems like a great guy, but it's time to make some adjustments.
Yeah, I think, John, in that third round, I think Mike Malott was kind of on the railroad tracks and he was seeing a train coming. And when he actually got hit by it, he was like, I did this to myself. I did this to myself. I'm sitting here. I'm still trying to process what the hell happened. This is a nightmare. I was winning the first two rounds. Not only was I winning, I was pretty much dominating the first two rounds, a lot of it on the ground. And here I am on the ground and I just lost with 15 seconds to go in Toronto.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot to process.
Yeah.
And I think he saw his whole career just take a completely different shift. Not to say he can't come back from this. He can, but it's going to be tough. And having that happen to you in that way, that's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, this was set up as a showcase fight for Mike Malott in Canada, and he was unable to deliver. And I have a T-shirt in my closet. It says, "What would Darren Elkins do?" Right? That's his former teammate. And I think about Darren Elkins in a lot of these situations because Darren Elkins is in the danger of like dying from blood loss in there, and he's not looking for a way out of there. So on the scale of, there have been a lot of fights. You can tell with certain fighters with body language when they are trying to live to fight another day, whether it's Frank Mir, Chael Sonnen, Mike Malott in this instance. There have been guys who give you the sign, and then the other end of that spectrum is Darren Elkins. His wife's probably sitting home like, Darren, please just live to fight another day, honey. Don't prove your toughness here, So, I do think you articulated that well, Kenny. Go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, and John, what you're saying is mindset. That's it. It's mindset. You know what I mean? And I'm going to tell you something. As a coach, all of this stuff the coaches see in the gym. They do see it. They know, like sometimes I mess with, a couple of guys here. Who do you think's going to make it to the top? You know what I mean? Like you could tell the guys that are going to make it and the guys that aren't going to make it. You know what I mean? So his coaches probably know something we don't know. But what you're saying, Elkins makes a decision that he's going to fight his fucking balls off. And that's it, period. End of story. Almost like Strickland. I'm willing to bleed for you. Those guys, those guys tried to kill each other, and they both, no sold a lot of stuff. Strickland's getting kicked in the head. He's acting like nothing's going on. I mean, these guys accept the responsibility of fighting. And it's just, I don't want to say it's that simple, but it's kind of that simple, man. You got to have the right mindset. You could tell the guys that do, and it's easy to tell the guys that don't.
What'd you make of the main event? I thought it was just unbelievably captivating and really what we needed after the co-headliner, kind of changed the vibe in that building a little bit.
Yeah, thank God for that because the co-main, I'm happy for Raquel. That just didn't look like a championship fight to me, if I'm being honest. I mean, and more Bueno Silva, just I don't even know what I was looking at, but I'm happy for Raquel. She's been around for a while, and I'm glad to see her get something. I know the first one didn't go good, and it was a rough situation. So even to overcome that adversity back then and wait this long, I'm glad she got it done. But
yeah, mix of emotions on the co-headliner for sure. We all want to celebrate Raquel Pennington, and she's a good friend of mine. But yeah, I don't know that, Kenny, there's any greater criticism that can be levied than just to say it didn't look like championship level MMA. And it's a big knock on the division because a lot of these women are older, right? And there aren't really any young contenders at 135 pounds that the fan base is going to get excited about. Juliana Pena is fantastic, and she's a former champion. But beyond that, the cupboard at 35 is pretty bare. So a lot of people are suggestive of, hey, if this is your two best at 135 right now, who's next walking through that door?
Yeah,
it's tough. I think it's a reminder that, women's MMA is still new. They're still learning. If we were to count all of the male mixed martial arts fighters out there and compare that to all the female mixed martial arts fighters out there, especially at the pro level, there'd be a significant difference, right? And the reason I'm saying that is because it just hasn't been around as much. You don't have as many females to test yourself, to get better, MMA promotions that are willing to put on these fights, all that stuff. So it's still growing. It's still getting better. And not to mention, there's always going to be certain divisions that are going to be weaker than others, right? For whatever reason. And I think that's one of those divisions. So it wasn't a great, way to kind of get a new champion in that division. I do agree with Ray. There was a lot of sloppy stuff there back and forth, but the toughness displayed by Pennington was extremely impressive. She's been around this sport for a very long time. It was clear that she came into this fight with a different focus, with a different level of conditioning that she has in some of her previous fights. Bueno Silva, she has a lot of talent. I think she faded in some really critical areas. And it's tough, right? I'm not a girl or anything like that, or, on fight week, I haven't really seen too much of that.
Are you sure?
I know, as far as I know.
You're not a girl, Kenny.
I know. I identify as Kenny Florian this week. But, but as far as like her, getting a really emotional in a lot of different spots, I said, how is she going to deal when she gets emotional during the fight? You don't want to be able to crumble in some of those tough spots. And I think Pennington was able to show a little bit more toughness and a little bit more focus and composure in a lot of those tough spots. And I think that was the difference.
Yeah.
Ray, can I get your thoughts on the main event?
Main event, look, I didn't score the fight. I watched it. I was entertained to hell. That's what I was doing. I really enjoyed the fight. I would have given it to Strickland, I think, but either way, it doesn't matter. I mean, nobody got robbed. I just thought Strickland kind of controlled the pace I'll tell you what, let me just give you my thoughts. I thought he controlled the pace with the jab, but really not much more than that. Occasionally lands the right hand. Look, we learned a lot. We learned that Dricus does have 5 rounds in him. That's the first thing. 5 rounds against a guy that could throw heavy volume. So that's a huge thing for Dricus. But Dricus did impose his will, and he kept going forward. He had Sean going backwards, which I didn't think he was going to be able to do. I thought Sean would take him into those deep waters and drown him. But I think, the first 3 or 4 rounds, it was – he got tired too. You could see the only thing that my criticism of Sean is at the end, he was getting just as sloppy as Dricus. He came out of himself a little bit. He held that jab. He held the overhand right. He was looking great. I thought he could have used more of the teep kicks to back him up, which he normally does. But yeah, either way, anybody who won that fight, I don't think anybody could complain. But I'm saying Dricus is the surprise in that fight to me. He was able to go 5 rounds. He did push forward, kind of used his head as a defensive mechanism, which is okay. If he's a big, strong kid, he's entitled to that. But I thought it was an entertaining fight. I think that's what they wanted.
Ray, would you have been nervous after round 4 heading into round 5? If you were in Strickland's corner, would you have been concerned about the scorecard a little bit there too? Yeah,
I would have been concerned at that point. Yeah. I think – first off, Eric Nixick did he put up a great post. I mean, classy act. But, He said it in the third. He said it in the third round, though. He didn't like that. He didn't like the third.
Yeah, he didn't like that.
He saw it going. He saw it going in the wrong direction.